Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the NFL DFS Slate Breakdown for week 2. First week was a fun one. I'm excited to get after it. We have some data now, and now we are slowly starting to build along about that for the whole NFL season. I'm your host, Tyler Weeman, and come join us at LineStar. We do have a free trial option. I know there's a ton of places that did free trials for week 1. We have a free 7-day trial always. Come try us out. Give us 7 days. Let us know how you like it, and then stay. We do have the best deal in DFS. $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do, the props, the DFS. You get it all. One low price for all platforms. Android, iOS, website, one subscription gets you access to all the tools, all the projections, all the sports. Now, let's dive into it. As always, I want to start by a little game overview and, slate overview. It is 12 games on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Our fastest games of the week appear to be the Saints and the 49ers. And when I say fast, this is like average seconds, between snaps. So 49ers and Saints, Cleveland and Baltimore, and the Chargers versus the Raiders, which is one of the afternoon games, I believe. Or no, that's a Monday night. And then our higher game totals, we got Chicago and Lions. Baltimore and Cleveland was 46. That one has came down since then. The highest total of the week is Bengals and Jags. And then we got Jets, Bills, and 46 for Eagles/Chiefs. So those are the fastest games and also the higher totaled games on the slate. I always like to talk about the fastest ones. The fastest ones are always interesting to me because they're not necessarily the highest game total games, but because more plays get run, it raises the floor of the players and also gives them a little more ceiling just because there's more plays, more chances to get fantasy points. Now, let's dive in. We're going to start position by position on DraftKings with our high-owned quarterbacks, and then we'll do a few pivots also. Lamar Jackson right now is coming in the highest owned quarterback at $7K, and he is 17% owned. As always, quarterbacks don't get that over-owned here. Lamar Jackson is in a fine spot. It is versus the Cleveland Browns, and unlike the Bengals, they don't necessarily play down to their competition. They don't let their competition dictate how quick they play. We've seen Lamar do well against Cleveland. The one issue I have for Lamar in this spot is we don't necessarily need a ceiling game from him. Or I don't think we necessarily get a ceiling game from him. I just don't think the Ravens are going to have to keep throwing. I think they're going to get a lead, hold a lead, play a little conservative. And while Lamar is great, I think we see a mid-20s type performance from him, and you don't necessarily need to play him. Last game, it got into a boat race. It was 40-41. He was throwing, he was rushing, he was doing it all, but they also had a big lead, and so he wasn't pushing the pace. So while he put up 29, he had a great day. It wouldn't have broken the slate. I kind of see that happening again. When you're going against Josh Allen and Super Josh comes out, it's a whole different thing. Josh Allen can absolutely break a slate, but he is another guy. He needs to be pushed for the true full ceiling. While I like Lamar, I think he has passed to a great game. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen this game. Next, we got Justin Justin Fields, he is 5,700. We have him at 3.7x. Consensus has him at 18 points. Solid projections for a guy that is only 5,700 and came out and absolutely had a great game last time out, putting up 30, 2 rushing touchdowns. He only had 16 completions, but for 218 yards and a touchdown. Great game by him. I struggle to think that he's going to be able to do it again versus the Bills. Now, the Bills are without Ed Oliver. That is going to significantly hurt their rushing defense. And passing wise, over the last 9, they have allowed 2 passing touchdowns per game. I think Fields is fine. I'm absolutely going to play him. I don't mind going that route. But, I do worry a little bit about that ceiling coming back out. Now, the one thing here is that the Jets have played the Bills tough in the past, and I would expect that it still comes to a close game here. I just don't think it goes into a shootout type game. Now, I wrote off last week for Pittsburgh versus Jets. I didn't think that was going to be a shootout. So by all means, this could be. And at 5,700, he's absolutely worth playing. He has the rushing upside to warrant that. I'm fine going there. Mello, you like the Cleveland stack? Well, hey, at 5K and the defense that the Ravens showed, Flacco makes some sense. He's going to throw a lot. They have no rushing potential. I mean, they don't like Ford. The Ravens are going to be able to stop Sampson/Ford. They're just going to have to throw a ton. At 5K, there's absolutely pass. I love Tillman. Fannin looked good. Njoku's there. Like it's not terrible. It allows you to put a ton of studs around it. My one issue with it is if this game really actually goes nuts, I just think you want Lamar over Flacco in it. But I think it's not the highest possibility chance of it going nuts. But appreciate the comments, Mello. Now, let's get over to Dak Prescott, 5,900, 12% owned versus the Giants. A lot has been made this week. It has been 13 straight wins for Dak Prescott versus the Giants. You don't think the Giants have heard that all week long also? You know they're going to end up being fired up. It is going to Jerry's house in Dallas, but I do like Dak in this spot. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to run the ball. I mean, they only had like 3 yards of carry last week. The Giants front is very good, and I doubt one of their top defensive linemen is going to spit in Dak's face to begin the game. I think Dallas is going to have to throw a ton. I don't mind some Dak stacks, but I'm probably going to have more Dak or CD with Dak than just CD solo, because I don't think there's a ton of pass where CD by himself just goes absolutely nuts. Dak can do it. Fine playing some. But right now, I'm not thinking it's going to be one of my majority owned stacks. Josh Allen, 11% owned. To me, this is a similar spot as Lamar. I think he does fine. I think he has a good game. But ceiling scares me a little bit. This Jets team always plays them tough. They have a home game where they blow out the Jets, and then they go to MetLife and they have a tough game. But even in these blowout games, Allen hasn't really got there, because in those blowouts, Allen doesn't have to rush the ball. And what we saw last year, and I assume we're going to see this year, is they're not going to use Josh Allen rushing too much unless they have to. And those are the big blow-up games for Josh Allen. I don't think this is one of those games. While he was spectacular last week, I think that rushing volume comes down. I think the likelihood of the rushing touchdowns come down. And I start to prefer, maybe the running backs over Josh Allen in this spot. They are in New York here, and he's been whatever in New York. Now, Joe Burrow, 6,600. A lot of people are going to go there. There's much more potential for a shootout in this one. And if Cohen and the Jaguars offense is able to get it going, there's absolutely potential shootout options here. So I'm fine having some Burrow stacks, some Bengals. With the Burrow not rushing at all, you got to go big time stacks anytime you go Bengals. And with Burrow, I think you pretty much have to have a comeback if you're using him, because the only way he usually goes off is with the team as a whole goes nuts. Now let's get into some pivots here. I want to start off by Drake May. Miami Dolphins just let up 33 points to the Colts and Daniel Jones. Miami, 24th ranked, allowing almost 253 yards over the last 9. 27th ranked, allowing a ton of pass attempts. Drake May has sneaky rushing upside. I think he's in a great spot, and 5,200 is too cheap. The one issue here is that they are in Miami, and Miami is tough to play at. So it's one of the only real, home field advantages due to heat in the league. The Dolphins put the opposing team in the sun. They generally make the opposing team wear darker colors, and it weighs on them a little bit. But I think Drake May is interesting. Next, we got Jalen Hurts, 6,800 versus the Chiefs. Now, this one I think is very interesting for a couple different reasons. What we saw in the Super Bowl is the Chiefs sold out to try and stop the run. What then makes that happen is the Eagles have to pass a lot more. Therefore, I do like the passing options. You also have Dallas Goedert out. So you got guys, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, that are going to get way more volume. And I think that makes the stacks with Hurts much more interesting. The issue is if they're stacking the box, it becomes harder and harder to rush. So that also can negatively hurt Hurts, just because he derives his ceiling from those rushing touchdowns. Now, he still had a rushing touchdown in the Super Bowl. It's absolutely possible for him to still get one here, especially with the tush push. And this KC defense looked awful last week, and they've been bad versus the pass, ranked 29th, allowing 240.9 passing yards over the last 9. They gave Herbert 318 last week, and over the last 4, 255.3 passing yards. So I'm not sold in the KCD. I think they also may try to sell out to stop the run, and that just opens up pass and possible one-on-one for A.J. Brown, which he will eat alive. Next, we got Mac Jones, bare minimum, 4K. Look, we know this 49er offense is very good for quarterbacks, and with that, I'm fine playing some Mac Jones. Also, with all the injuries, they got very few places to go. You got CMC, you got Pearsall, Jennings is questionable. Kendrick Bourne is just signed and likely going to play. At least he has a rapport with Jones from their time in New England. And at 4K, you could do worse. Look what he did at the end of the year. There's, a couple 20 burgers there. Now he's in the 49ers offense, which always plays up to quarterbacks. I think you could do worse than him. You can stack him multiple different ways. There's guys, bring backs, even though it's not a game that is likely to go 30-30 or 33-30. And it's probably going to be a low scoring game. At 4K, you could do worse than going that way. Next, we got Caleb Williams. He looked great for the first quarter maybe during the script plays. Then Minnesota brought some blitzes and it kind of fell apart a little bit. But one thing I want to point out, what did he do against Detroit last year? 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 carries, 39 yards. 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries, 34 yards. We know he has rushing upside. He had 500 yards rushing last year, sorry. And one of the things I talked about last week was that he had 0 touchdowns. Of course, he got in the end zone this week or last week just to write what I was saying there. But more touchdowns are going to come rushing. He had 6 carries for 58 yards. He didn't throw the ball great. He was off target a lot, but he's done well versus this Detroit Lions team. And it is in the dome. You know Ben Johnson's going to be fired up to try and win this game. And there is a huge ceiling here. He hit 30 a couple times. He's only 5,400. There's bring back options on the Lions that you'll want to play. And I think it's a very interesting stack to go with. So I like Caleb, not quitting him just yet. And this is the scariest one for me. Going to Tua. 43.5 game total. He's only 5,300 though. I'm scared to click that button. He went versus the Colts, which isn't a great team. Only put up 114 yards, had 2 interceptions, a touchdown. Pat's D at least gave up a ton of passing yards. Their top corner is also out. The Dolphins had a players only meeting yesterday or today. I think they realized they really need to button it up and figure it out. They're at home where they have played much better before. Tua is better at home. And with that, I'm willing to take some more shots at Tua. Patriots are also without their best corner. So, I said that, but I wanted to retouch on it. And you got, limited weapons to go to there. You have 3 guys to get most of the carries. I think it's an interesting spot, and I'm going to have to do it again. I hate saying it, but I got to go there. Over on FanDuel, our high owns over here, we got Caleb, Lamar, and Josh Allen. I will still play Caleb at 18%. I think he's fine. At 9%, Dak is super interesting. I'm staying away from Mahomes with his wide receiver situation. It looks like it's doubtful Xavier Worthy plays. And then same pivots pretty much over here on FanDuel as well. Let's get over to the running back spot. Our high owns, we got CMC. I really don't need to talk about CMC too much. The guy's workload is giant, and it's going to continue being giant for the foreseeable future. He had 31 touches, had a target where he didn't catch it too, so 32 attempts there. And it's versus the Saints. Saints aren't great. You can absolutely play CMC. The potential for multiple touchdowns is there. I don't expect 30 plus target or touches again, but 25 plus is in the wheelhouse, and there's a huge ceiling. Kyren versus the Tennessee Titans. I do think Kyren's a little bit interesting. The Titans just got gashed for 133 yards. They gave up 169 over the last 4. Kyren's going to get a huge workload. My issue here is it's a 41.5 total. It is 2 tough defenses, and I just don't see a multiple touchdown performance from him. And because he doesn't really catch many passes, there's not a ton of ceiling there. So I'll probably let, if he kills me, he kills me. I can let somebody else eat that chalk. Chase Brown, 6,800 versus the Jags. This game environment is one of the ones I got to target. So I'm fine having some Chase Brown. Jacksonville's allowed 0.9 rushing touchdowns per game over the last 9. They allow a ton of rush yards over the last 9. And then they're allowing 63% more fantasy points win away over the last 9. I'm fine with Chase Brown. His volume is huge. He had 23 touches. I expect that again. Highest game total of the week. There's a ton of paths where Chase Brown has success. Devon Achane, I like a lot. I'm going to be playing him once again. I played a ton of him last week. Didn't totally came through. That touchdown bailed him out a little bit. But in a game where, with it being at home, I expect the Patriots or the Dolphins to be in the game. I think he'll have a bigger workload, probably gets up to, 20 touches, something like that, and he can break a game or break a slate. Derrick Henry at 8,200 versus Cleveland. Last year at home, what did he do against Cleveland? 138 yards and 2 tutties with 23 yards receiving. That's definitely in the wheelhouse again. And that was week 18. So you give a more fresh Henry, and he can definitely go nuts. He went nuts last game with 169 yards. I don't mind going it. I do think this Cleveland rush D is going to be good, so it's not one of my priority plays, but he's too good and going low owned, so I got to do it. Travis Etienne at 5,700. This Bengals D is bad. If it wasn't for Cleveland, they probably would have gashed them on the ground. Cleveland only got 40 yards rushing, but they did get 61 receiving yards. Etienne, meanwhile, 156 yards from him versus Carolina. The Bengals D is equally bad. Etienne or Bigsby just got traded. With that, I don't think Tootin is going to go from 4 snaps up to 20. While Tootin's going to get more, I don't think it's going to be a dramatic just jump up. I think this is Etienne's role right now, and he's in for a big workload again. He could definitely get 20 plus touches, and at 5,700, that ceiling is huge versus a bad D. All right, next pivot. We got to go Travion Henderson here versus the Dolphins. I do kind of like this game. One of the things that Vrabel came out and said already was that he wants to change the snap counts a little bit. Henderson didn't play that much. I think he's going to get more this game. With that, I love the upside. You can tell when he touched the ball, he was much better than Stevenson. Stevenson played 65%. Henderson played 35%. The upside is there for a giant game. He had 6 targets in 35% of the snaps. 5 carries, 27 yards, 6 for 24 yards. He can break one from anywhere on the field at 5,500 with his PPR upside. I love the floor and I love the ceiling. Chuba Hubbard, 6K versus the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals allowed 78 rushing yards last week versus the Saints, who really can't do too much offensively. They've allowed 102.5 over the last 4 with 1 touchdown per game. Chuba is their guy. It was confirmed. He had 5 targets. He had 16 carries. He got a tutty. And versus Arizona defense, I think there's big time upside. Arizona allows more fantasy points when they're home. They allow more fantasy points when the RB is favored. Carolina rushes more. I think there's a ton of different paths where Chuba succeeds, and he is part of the passing attack also. So 6K actually might be pretty cheap. Breece Hall appears to be back. 21 touches, went for 145 yards, and Buffalo is without their defensive tackle in Ed Oliver, and they've been allowing 90.7 rushing yards as it is. We know the Jets are run first. The game is going to go through the run whenever possible, and without Ed Oliver, I think the Bills are really going to struggle stopping the run. I like Breece. 6,200 for his role is great. He may lose some goal line touches to Allen, but Breece is a beast, and I'm going back. And then I got to go to Jahmyr Gibbs at 7,400. Not really sure what the breakdown is here. He was at like 65% of the snaps. I don't know if it was just a bad game script for him or if that's fully his new role, but he was the first one to touch the ball of the running back committee. So it leads me to believe that it is Jahmyr Gibbs' role. The other thing here is they do not want to start 0-2. They also, I'm sure, want to show Ben Johnson that they can be good without him. They looked awful last week. I think that changes. And the Bears haven't been good versus the running back. So Jahmyr Gibbs, 7,400, one of the better running backs in the league. I think it's a great spot. Don't mind going there. High owned on FanDuel. Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, CMC, and Devon Achane. All of them should be. They're all great. Javonte Williams at 6,300. I am out on. You guys can all have that chalk. I am not going to play 6,300 Javonte Williams just because he fell into the end zone twice last week. You guys can have that one. I'm good without. Kyren, 8K, probably not going there either. Kamara, there's a path. Probably not my favorite. We haven't even talked about Barkley. It probably should, since he's, the best running back outside of CMC. While he's great, I think this is another matchup that's going to be a little bit tough for him. So KC slowed him down. He had 31 touches in the Super Bowl and only 97 yards. Now, Barkley can always break one. I think he's going to be heavily involved, especially without Goddard. So I'm fine having him in lineups, but he is not going to be a guy that I am pushing for. If he goes super low owned, I will make sure I get a little bit of him, but I'm not going overboard. I just don't think this game profiles very good for him. Chiefs held Chargers to 53 rushing yards, a team that loves to run the ball. And I think the Eagles are going to just the Chiefs are going to sell out to stop that run. All right, let's get over to the wide receiver room here. So our high owned Hollywood Brown, 25% owned. Hollywood Brown had 16 targets last week. We saw Worthy get hurt in the very beginning of the game, and it just turned into the Hollywood Brown show. I don't think that happens again. Philly has good corners. It's not a great matchup. While I do think he is a bit underpriced for his current role, I'm not going to go super heavy on him. I would rather just go to Juju Smith-Schuster or Tyquan Thornton that have a much improved role, or even Travis Kelce, then go to Hollywood Brown, which, everybody's going to play. He's going to go super high owned. And Juju underneath, or Thornton, we saw him take a ton of deep shots versus the Chargers. Makes total sense too, and I'm not eating the chalk. 5,200, if I play, I'm going to play a little bit, but at 25% owned, I'm probably going to be at most probably 10%. I'm probably not going underneath 5, probably in that 5 to 10% for me. Next, we got T. Higgins, 6,100. We like this game. T. Higgins is a great receiver. The only issue is that if you are stacking Burrow, Higgins, Chase, and trying to get a bring back for the Jags, all your money is gone. So while I like this game and I want some of it, it is a game that is very hard to fully stack. Higgins, if he shows up in some lines, I'm fine. Not going out of my way to get him. He's, I love playing him. I love playing Burrow, but it's just very hard to get all three of those guys. And if you want a Jaguar guy, pretty much have to go ETN. If you go BTJ, you're out of money. So I like T. He's in a good spot. The Jaguar D does not scare me. It's fine chalk. Ricky Pearsall, 5,300. Where else does Mac Jones have? There's no Kittle. Juwan Jennings is questionable. He has Christian Bourne, maybe Jennings, Pearsall, and then McCaffrey underneath. I gotta believe they're going to draw up a ton of plays for Pearsall, and he has speed. He can break a big one. I'm fine going there, especially at 5,300. Next, we got JSN, 6K versus the Steelers. Steelers secondary did not look good. JSN was a target hog, 13 targets, and he was used all over the field. That's the best part about it. All depths, his, 9 receptions for 124 yards. I think he looks great. Also, Joey Porter is out for the Steelers, so that D might be a little hurt coming into the second week. Also, I'm fine with some JSN, not going, way over the field on him. Jamar Chase, same with Higgins. He's in a great spot. I'm fine getting some, but they're all high price, so it just limits what else you can do there. That's my only worry about going that way. Cedric Tillman at 4,300 is too cheap. He got 8 targets. You get 8 targets, which he should get, continuously this season, and you're 4,300, I'm going to always think about you. Also, the Ravens D got beat up. I like them. All right, let's get into CD Lamb 7,800. I got to imagine he's going to bounce back from those drops last week in prime time. We know he worked hard all week in the jugs machine. He's going to be motivated. Dak is going to be motivated to get it to him. I like the play. It's just if I play him, I'm probably playing Dak too. Neighbors, I don't respect Dallas corners that much. I think he's a fine play. Let's get into the pivots here. Rome. I got to go back to my man Rome here. 9 targets, had a touchdown, only 37 yards, but the game script in this one versus Detroit should be very good. It's in a dome. Caleb's been good in Detroit before. I also like DJ Moore. I'm fine with either of them. I think there's big time upside in this matchup, and Rome appears like he might be, first read a lot. Tet McMillan versus the Cardinals. Tet looked good, had 9 targets, could have had a huge game and was just slightly off due to, a couple factors coming in. Had a big PI call against him. A few things happened throughout the day. But all in all, Arizona D does not scare me. He's 5,400. He is the number one in this on that team without a doubt, and with a 44 game total and them 6.5 favorites away, I assume they're going to be throwing a lot. I like Tet. Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, it is the same thing here. I expect the Chiefs to force the Eagles to throw, and they couldn't stop anybody last week. 232 yards through the wide receiver. There is no Goddard. Either Smith or AJ Brown are going to go off this week. I just don't totally know which one it is. The Chiefs definitely could throw a lot of man at them because they're bringing pressure and clogging the middle. And if that's the case, AJ Brown eats. George Pickens, love him in this matchup. I think this is a matchup that he could succeed. He only had 4 targets last week, but he is a boom bust player. He's not going to come through all the time, but when he does, it's going to be a giant game, and he's 5,800. I think you can absolutely play him with one-offs just because he could catch one long one and that be his day. Whereas CD, for him to pay off his price, he needs, 13, 15 targets, whereas Pickens at 5,800 gets 8 targets, catches one long one, and, he's crushing the slate. BTJ, nobody's going here. He still had 7 targets. He only had 1 reception. He had a carry for 9 yards and a tutty, 20 total yards and a tutty. Very disappointing versus a poor D in the Cardinals, but I think they're going to go back to him a ton. And as I said, there is potential in this game for a shootout. I'm fine going here. I like having some correlation. I don't mind having a BTJ and Higgins or BTJ and Chase on the other side and leaving quarterbacks out, maybe going to, a cheaper rushing quarterback or something. But I think it's a very interesting way to play this slate. 4,900 Calvin Ridley is too cheap. I don't love the matchup, but the targets are going to be there. Cam Ward looked very good. And I want to be early on the Cam Ward breakout. I'm not going to play a ton of Cam Ward today or this week, but I will play Ridley 4,900 for the ceiling. It's another spot, kind of like Tillman. I mean, he's in the 4Ks and he got 8 targets, and I can count on, 8 to 12 targets almost weekly for Ridley. I'm fine following that volume. Garrett Wilson, if you're playing Fields, is almost a must, and Buffalo gave it up to Flowers. Fine going there a bit as well. Tyquan Thornton, I touched upon at 3,600. The man got 4 targets, but they were all pretty much deep shots. It looks like he is going to be the deep shot merchant now that Worthy's out, and with that, I'm fine taking some shots on him. Not the greatest matchup, but 3,600, if one of those lines up, he crushes. Now, let's get over to FanDuel. Our high owned over here, we got Keon Coleman, George Pickens, and Zay Flowers. Don't like this matchup for Keon Coleman. while he crushed versus Baltimore, I think versus Sauce, he may have some troubles here. If I'm playing Allen, I'll probably throw Coleman in, but I'm not going to force it. Pickens, I like. Zay at 6,300. I just don't think this is the game for Zay. He crushed last week, and I think he could be, mid 7Ks in a week or two, but I don't know if I'm going to follow it up this time. Puka, I love, but again, low scoring game. Just don't know if he gets in the end zone. I think the yards will be there, but without the end zone, it doesn't really matter. All right. Tight ends, Njoku, McBride, Ferg. I love a good old Ferguson and Lamb stack with Dak. I think that's a great way to play it. You could have neighbors coming back. I don't mind that, and I'm going to play some of it. Ferguson is fine. My issue with him is you don't see 20-point outings from him. You also don't see him get in the end zone that much, but it can happen. And if he gets in the end zone, he's probably one of the tight ends you want to have. McBride, week in and week out, is a play. Not many tight ends are regularly getting double-digit targets. Njoku, Fannin, both on the board. This team's going to throw a ton. These guys are cheap. The volume's there. It's if they get a touchdown or not, it comes down to. Juwan Johnson, 11 targets in the first game. I think the target volume is going to stay there all year. The 49ers D doesn't scare me that much. Are allowing 0.5 touchdowns per game to the tight end over the last 4. I think it's an interesting spot. And on to FanDuel, we got Laporta, McBride, and Freiermuth. Fine playing some Laporta versus the Bears. He did do decently versus them. He had 3 touchdowns in 2 games last year. He's had 9 targets. I like it. Don't mind that spot. And we covered everybody else. Getting over to D, we got Ravens, Lions, and Rams as the high-owned ones. I don't love the Lions at 13% owned. Ravens I'll play a ton of. Rams, absolutely fine getting there. The D is solid, and the Texans looked awful. Pivots, 49ers versus the Saints. You got to pay up, which I don't love, but Saints are not going to be great, and don't mind trying to pick on that a little bit. Patriots at 2,800 versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins come out flat again, then they are super cheap, and I don't mind going there. Broncos at 3,500 versus Danny Dimes is a very interesting spot to me, and I do not expect Danny Dimes to look like an MVP again. And that will wrap it up for us today, guys. I hope you guys have a good one. Good luck this week. Let's make some money, and then please come join us at LineStar. Gives you all the tools we have here. There's more tools that we haven't been able to get into quite yet, like the team defense tool. What this is like DVOA, it's like DVOA, but it's set up on a rolling average. So it is an adjusted defensive metric, and we just don't have enough data yet this year to really start using it as a tool. We need to get into 2-4 games before it really starts working. It is a great tool, though, and we will start using that. The matchup tool is here, and it is populating a little bit, but again, new season, so not a whole lot of data, but we also have the red zone and the snap stuff that you can dig into. And that's going to do it for us today, guys. You all have a good one. We'll be back. Peace. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff.